Ever feel like you're just drowning in data these days? I feel like it's everywhere you look.
Yeah.
And it just keeps growing and growing at this crazy rate, like 25–30% every year. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But here's the thing, right? All this data explosion, it's changing our lives in ways we probably don't even realize.
Totally. Like, think about it. Personalized ads.
Ugh, yeah.
Like, how did they know I was thinking about that? AI, too. Every day, it seems like there's some new medical breakthrough. Even just like what shows pop up on your streaming service.
It's all data, right?
All driven by data.
It's all data. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think, just having tons and tons of data, well, it doesn't automatically mean we're making better decisions.
Right.
Or, living better lives. In fact, I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like the opposite,
Absolutely. It's like you've got this massive library,
right.
Every book ever written, but there's no Dewey Decimal System. There's no organization. You're just surrounded by all this potential knowledge, but you're totally lost.
Yes.
And that is the data paradox. And that's what we're diving into today with this book, Mastering the Data Paradox, Key to Winning in the AI Age by Nitin Seth.
I love that title, Winning in the AI Age.
I know.
It's like we're in this competition we didn't even know we entered.
Right.
But before we get into that, can you tell us a bit about Nitin Seth? I mean, he sounds like he knows a thing or two about this stuff.
Oh, yeah. He's not just an author. Like, this guy's a CEO. He's been in the data trenches.
Yeah.
Really in it. I mean, he worked with Flipkart, that's basically India's Amazon.
Oh, wow.
And before that, McKinsey, Fidelity. So he understands the challenges of this data deluge, both for these big companies and for us regular folks.
Okay, so he's walked the walk. He's not just talking the talk.
Exactly.
But let's get back to this whole data paradox thing.
Yeah.
Can you break it down? Why isn't more data always a good thing? Because I have to admit, I really struggle with this.
Oh, we all do.
Yeah.
But one of Seth's big points is that we're drowning in data, but we're like totally thirsting for real insights.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, imagine you spend 2 hours scrolling through like Instagram or TikTok, whatever. That's a ton of data you just consumed.
Oh, yeah. Too much.
But do you come away from that feeling like, wow, I'm so much more informed now? Or are you just like mentally exhausted?
Exhausted, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we get to that point of actually feeling informed and not just overwhelmed?
That feeling of like your brain is full, but you don't feel any smarter.
Yeah.
So if it's not just about finding better algorithms or faster computers, how do we even begin to tackle that? What's Seth's take?
See, and that's what's so interesting, because he says it's not just a tech problem.
Okay.
It's a human problem. It's about our mindset, developing new skills to deal with this world that's just saturated in data.
It's interesting.
And he's not the only one who sees it this way. Even people who are like data professionals who read the book, they all say he really gets at the psychology of it all. It's not enough to just have the data we need to know how to think about it, how to filter it, how to use it strategically.
Okay, so it's less about becoming a data scientist and more about like becoming a data strategist.
Yes.
Even in our personal lives, right?
Exactly. And that's what makes this book so relevant. Like, you don't have to be a tech expert to get something out of it.
Right.
Whether you're running like a huge company or just trying to figure out what to have for dinner tonight, understanding how to use data is becoming so important.
Totally. It's not just about the what, it's about the how.
Exactly.
But how? I mean, how do we actually do that? How do we master this data paradox?
Well, in the book, Seth lays out this really practical roadmap. It's a 5-step framework that kind of walks you through the process. We won't have time to get into all 5 today. But one that I think is super important and where people mess up a lot is identifying the right data.
Oh, okay. Because not all data is created equal, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
Oh, man, I can already see where this is going.
Yeah.
This is me. I'm so guilty of this.
Oh, yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in, ooh, more data is better.
Right.
But Seth really stresses,
Yeah.
like focusing on the right data for what you're trying to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, he gives some interesting examples in the book.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to start a new business, the data you need is going to be way different than if you're trying to learn a new language.
Right.
Or like find the best travel deals.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah.
I can see how I've fallen into that trap of just being like, more data, more data, more data. And then I just end up feeling completely overwhelmed and I don't even know where to start.
It's like analysis paralysis almost.
Yeah.
But by really just being like, okay, what are the 1 or 2 things I really need to figure out? and then finding the specific data that lines up with those goals.
Okay.
Then you can avoid wasting all this time and energy on stuff that doesn't even matter.
That's good advice.
It's about being strategic,
Yeah.
not just a passive consumer.
So speaking of being strategic, you mentioned that Seth's book got some really good reviews, even from people who are like data professionals themselves.
I love it.
Which is really saying something.
Yeah, they're like, this is great.
Yeah.
It's the real deal.
So what are some of the things that they're saying? What are the big takeaways?
One of the biggest ones, and this came up again and again in the reviews, is this idea of data as a strategic asset.
Okay. Data as a strategic asset.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking about like
it's an
spreadsheets and algorithms.
Yeah.
We're talking about using data to like
to win.
get ahead
Yeah.
in any area of life.
In life and business, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Like whether you're running a Fortune 500 company or like one reviewer said, just trying to figure out your next career move.
Mm.
Data should be part of that decision-making process at every level.
Okay.
And one CEO actually wrote about how he uses Seth's frameworks with his team when they're making big decisions. Like, why should we enter this new market? Should we develop this new product?
Now that's putting data to work.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but how does that translate to someone like me? Someone who's not, doesn't necessarily work in a data-driven field.
That's a great question. And it's something that Seth actually addresses head on.
Okay.
He says, even if you don't think of yourself as a data person, you can still benefit from thinking about data strategically.
Okay.
Like think about all the decisions you make in a day, big and small,
Right.
what you have for breakfast,
Okay.
what to wear,
Yes.
negotiating a job offer,
Right.
all of that, having the right data and knowing how to like interpret it can help you make better choices.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Good.
It's not about becoming a data scientist.
No.
It's about being more data-minded.
Yes.
Right.
A data-driven mindset.
Data-driven mindset. Okay, I can do that.
There you go.
But I have to admit, this is where I get stuck.
Where?
Knowing how to interpret the data, it feels like a whole other language sometimes.
Right.
Does Seth's book talk about that at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And this is where his 5-step framework is so helpful.
Okay.
Again, we don't have time to go into all the details.
Right.
But just know that it's meant to be like a practical roadmap.
Okay.
Not just a bunch of vague ideas.
Yeah.
He walks you through like how to identify the right data, how to make sure it's good quality data. Because remember, garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Data quality.
Yes.
That's something I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a minefield out there.
It is.
Like, how can we be sure that the data that we're using to make these decisions is actually reliable?
Right. The age-old problem, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Seth actually spends a lot of time on this in the book.
Okay.
This whole challenge of data governance and quality.
Okay.
He's like, look, without good data,
Right.
it doesn't matter how fancy your algorithms are,
Right.
how cool your data visualizations are.
Yeah.
It's meaningless if the underlying data is flawed.
So can you explain what data governance even is?
Yeah, it sounds kind of intimidating,
Yeah.
but it's really not.
Okay.
Think of it like hygiene, but for your data.
Okay.
It's about putting systems in place to make sure your data is accurate,
Right.
trustworthy, used responsibly.
Okay.
Without it, you're basically building a house on a shaky foundation.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
No matter how good your analysis is, if the data's bad, your conclusions will be bad.
And how often are we probably doing that?
Probably a lot more than we realize.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even if you're not collecting the data yourself, you still need to be able to like evaluate it.
Right.
Like, let's say you're researching a new business idea.
Okay.
It's tempting to just Google some statistics and call it a day.
Oh, yeah. Totally guilty.
But I think Seth would have something to say about that.
I bet he would.
He'd be like, hold on a second.
Right.
And judging by the reviews, people are really resonating with that.
Yeah.
Remember that data pro who loved the book?
Yeah.
It's because even they are constantly battling bad data.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's an ongoing
It's
thing.
like they say, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Right.
But now it's like, don't believe everything the algorithm tells you.
Exactly. We have to be like discerning data consumers.
Yeah.
Not just like passively taking in whatever comes at us.
Okay.
And that's what I think is so valuable about Seth's book. He's not just giving you tools to manage data. It's like he's challenging you to think differently about it.
So it's bigger than just like making better decisions in our own lives.
Way bigger. Yeah. Like it's about being a more informed citizen.
Okay.
Being able to think critically in this world that's only getting more complex.
That's like data literacy is becoming as important as, regular literacy.
100%. And that's something that really came through in the reviews too. People were like, this book helped me see past the hype.
Oh, interesting.
Like AI, big data. It's exciting, but it can also go really wrong.
We need to be careful.
Yeah, we need to be smart about it.
We've been talking about the individual benefits and even for businesses, but it's a much bigger conversation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Like societal level.
It's almost as if data literacy it's not optional.
It's fundamental.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So to bring this all together then, it sounds like what you're saying is data can be incredibly empowering.
Hugely.
But it can also be misused.
It's a tool, right?
Right.
Like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. And it's on us.
It's our responsibility.
Exactly. To make sure we're using it the right way.
And that's really what I appreciate about Seth's approach. He's not like preaching at us. He's giving us a way to think about this stuff.
It's a framework.
Yeah.
Starting point.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here on mastering the data paradox, what's the one thing you want listeners to take away from this conversation?
Just one.
Yeah.
Okay. Here it is. More data doesn't equal a better life.
Yeah, I like that.
It's about using it wisely, ethically, for the betterment of all of us,
Turning information into insight, data into wisdom. I love it. Well, on that note, this has been another fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
And we hope this conversation has given you a lot to think about. And keep digging, keep asking questions, and we'll see you next time.